Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of the Energy Expansion Podcast. I'm so excited to bring this conversation to you today because I am brushing up on some things that I learned a really long time ago. And some of these things might feel like a refresher for you, or they might be brand new. And these things are a total game changer. So to bring you into this, it's going to be little bits and pieces from all over. But what really inspired this conversation is the fact that I am going through a Master Practitioner certification for the second time. Let me know if you are a lifelong learner, a lifelong student. If I could sit my butt down in a classroom and learn something new every day for the rest of my life, I absolutely would. That is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And we can attribute that. I was gonna say we could blame it, but blame sounds bad. We're not blaming anything, but we can attribute that to my 1-3 profile line inside of human design. I love learning. I love researching. If there's something that excites me, I literally want to know everything that I could possibly learn about that thing. And so at this point now, it's so interesting because at the time of me recording this podcast, we're coming off of a really, really, really intense week last week. If you know, you know. And in the midst of all of that, there was a memory that popped up on, I should actually probably share this on my social medias because it's kind of a big deal. But there was a memory that popped up on my socials. And apparently, I knew it was sometime in the month of September, but I didn't know the exact day. And now I know. September 10th is the anniversary of me leaving my full-time job to go into coaching full-time. Like shifting from a 9-to-5 job working for someone else to working for myself. And I want to say, gosh, last week was just like such a disaster. If you remember what was happening last week, September 10th of 2025, it was madness, pure chaos. And so I don't even remember. I should know this off the top of my head. I remember. It was 11 years. It's been 11 years. So last week, September 10th of this year was 11 years since I left my full-time job to coach. And I'm bringing you down memory lane because the thing that allowed me to do that, and you don't need this on your own journey if you are on a journey similar to mine, but when I realized that the work that I was doing at my 9-to-5 job, I was working for a relatively large company based out of here where I'm living now in Southern California. It was a spa and salon franchise. At the time, we had over 30 locations. There might even be more of them now. And I feel so blessed, but I got to play a pretty big role in opening up many of those locations. My stores, the stores that I was a district manager for, were thriving so much so that the corporate office would bring me to corporate to train other managers, other leaders, other owners on customer service things, on operational things, on how to keep your employees happy. The industry that I was in had typically a really high turnover rate, meaning we would attract in a young group of people. It was women in their late teens, early 20s, starting off in college. We attracted a lot of college students. And so there wasn't a whole lot of deep connection or attachment to that particular role. And so it was really easy for people to just be like, okay, peace out. They'd find something a little bit better and they'd leave. And if you know anything about running a company and turnover, the higher your turnover rate, I mean, it's really expensive. Having a high turnover rate is really expensive because it's expensive to get the right people in and then to train those people. All of this being said, my locations had the lowest turnover rates. The employees that I personally hired and stayed on exponentially longer, like years and years, where other salons couldn't even get their employees to stay with them for a few months. And so I really actually loved my full-time job, and so many pieces of my full-time job and what allowed me to succeed there, I've absolutely woven in. And it's how I knew I wanted to be a coach. When I knew I was ready to leave my full-time job, I really looked at and asked myself, like, what are my favorite things and how can I apply this to something else? And I realized, oh, I'm a life coach. I'm a performance coach. I'm a mindset coach. Like, no duh, right? And so that sparked the journey that I've been on all these years later. That was super impromptu, what I just shared there, but I don't talk a lot about what I was doing and who I was before coaching. And so something right now was like, you should probably tell them so they have a frame of reference. But really what I want to get into today, again, is what I'm learning right now. The certification that officially starts tomorrow. Funny enough, it's a certification that I had invested in many, many years ago, and I'm retaking it. And I'm certified in so many different things. I got my first certification when I knew I wanted to do something different. I had a brand new baby. I think my oldest daughter was only a few months old. I don't think she was 6 months old. So I'm nursing my baby. I signed up for my first of now many, many coaching certifications. I'd go to work during the day. I'd come home. I'd pop on my headphones. And for multiple nights a week, it was like several weeknights for months, I would be learning and practicing what I was learning. And that first certification gave me the courage to go out on my own, which is why I wanted to share all those pieces with you. Some of the things that I use more than anything else are things that I learned through a NLP practitioner certification. A lot of these certifications, these NLP certifications, include lots of different modalities. You can also learn each of these individually. So the very first one that I took, it was a little over 6 months. It was an NLP practitioner certification, but you walked away from that certification as a practitioner of NLP. I keep saying that for those of you who don't know, NLP is an acronym, neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro means of the mind. Linguistic is language, and programming is the way that things are put together, the way that we are wired, the way that we are conditioned. Programming determines the way that we function, the choices we make, the way through which we view ourselves and the world. It has to do with so much of how we operate. It's really our operating system is what it is. And so neurolinguistic programming has to do with understanding, first and foremost, the language of the mind and being able to identify if the current programming of your mind is not in full support of where you're going. It's a whole plethora of tools to help you create really powerful shifts. And now this is so important. It's not like the end all be all of modalities, but this is really important. You'll often hear me say that I personally believe that your mind is either your greatest asset towards getting you to where you want to go, or it is your biggest enemy. It is the single thing stopping you from getting to where you want to go. Are you with me? So that's why NLP is so incredibly important. So my first sort of big bundle, there's got to be like a word for this, but it was like a multimodality certification. So it was NLP, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, a really powerful way to shift our energy. I love it because it has to do with the mind, but we're also working with the body. It included clinical hypnotherapy, life and success coaching. The particular program that I went through, a lot of trainers and founders of these certification programs are often, they'll have their own special modality, like their own custom thing that you can't learn anywhere else. And where I went through, it was called integrative alchemy. So that was like another part of that certification. I got certified in all of those things back in 2019. And I had already been coaching for several years and my clients were getting really, really great results. I was bumping up against this issue where I was able to support my clients to a certain extent. And then I could feel that there was something getting in the way of their success. Like I could identify it, but I didn't have the tools to help them through it. So as I was evolving as a coach, the people who I was attracting were also evolved. They had been on their healing journey and they needed more. And I wanted to be the one to help them. And so that was what prompted this initial certification. This fueled my fire, my passion, every single one of my offers. It was that initial yes. And don't get me wrong, I had gotten others certified in other things, like smaller yeses, smaller investments, other modalities that I still use to this day. But there was something about becoming a practitioner in all of those things. So because I walked away with such incredible results, and my clients were seeing such incredible results, and my business was growing so freaking rapidly, when the opportunity came to say yes to the master level, to become a master practitioner of all of those modalities, it was the easiest yes. I embarked on that journey. I'm so incredibly grateful for that experience, but I don't feel like I really got everything that I wanted to out of the master level. So again, everything inside of the practitioner level, I use day in and day out. There's a really good chance that you're listening to this podcast and you might have experienced some of these techniques. We might have done these together, whether it be one-on-one, in a group, or even a lot of what I learned, I share inside of all of my programs. And so you might know exactly what I'm talking about. And I do in my own way, because I've been practicing these tools and using them almost every single day for 5 or 6 years. In so many ways, I feel extremely masterful. I could do these in my sleep. And also, I'm well aware that there's a specific set of curriculum at the master level. And I'm also taking this through a completely different school, I don't know if that's like the right thing to call it. I talk about her all the time. Her name is Erin Nicole Porter. I love her so much. She's a dear friend of mine. I've gone through her mastermind. I got to speak on stage at her event, The Energetics of Business. I love her so much. The school that I went through to get certified in all of my things, it actually doesn't even exist anymore. If it did, I would highly recommend the practitioner level to everybody I know. But because it doesn't exist, I send all of my people to Erin to go through. It's the quantum ripple effect is the entry level, the equivalent of what I completed that skyrocketed my business. And then inside of that, Erin has established firm foundations for all of the other levels that you can pursue after that. And Erin also happens to be an expert in things like somatic work and breath work and her own modalities. And so for so many years, this feels like such a big deal because for so many years, I said there is going to be a time when I learn all of these things that I already know, but I want to learn them from her. I want to learn them from a woman who's mastered them in her own way, in her own right. And fam, that time is now. I'm so incredibly excited. And the thing that I wanted to bring you into was I'm going through some of our pre-study modules. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Yes, I teach this, but I forgot that this was a thing, that this was a concept, or things that I'm going back to and brushing up on. And I was like, I got to share this with our pod squad. And not all of it is from the pre-study for the master level, but that's what sparked this. And then I kind of went off on my own tangent and was like, this reminds me of this other thing that I really want to share with them. So let's dig in. The very first one, it's so simple, but it's so powerful. And it is remembering how important your focus is. Where you place your focus holds so much power. And in so many ways, it really dictates and determines how you feel, what you create, where you end up. I have this card that I keep by me. It was a letter that I wrote to myself 10 years ago, and it's literally by my side all the time at my desk. And one of the very last things that I wrote, and there's like a caveat here, and there's a couple different ways I want to say this. It says, you don't get what you want, you get what you believe you deserve, and you deserve the world. I love that. That's such a sweet sentiment to myself. And that was the last thing that I wrote. Do you want me to read this? I'm going to read this whole thing to you. Dani, babe, you are so freaking brilliant. You have everything you need to succeed. You have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. And guess what? You deserve it. It's time to stop playing small. It's time to be fearless. It's time to own your power. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know you can do this. Remembering the version of Dani who wrote this to herself and she had no idea what we were going to go on and create together. You can have the love, the money, the success, the family, the marriage that you've always dreamed of. It's already yours. It's easy. You just have to say yes. Allow yourself to receive it. And this is the part that it prompted me wanting to share this with you. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you deserve, and you deserve the world. I love this. I love the sentiment of it. I'm going to put it right back here where it goes, where it's been with me for over a decade. The caveat here that I want to make, the tweak that I want to make to that statement is we don't actually get what we want. We don't get what we want. I think that there's something to that sentiment of like you get what you believe you deserve. I also don't think you get what you believe you deserve. You get what you focus on. What are you focused on right now? Are you focused on the blessings that are coming into your world? If you are focused on, I am a worthy recipient of every single one of my desires and what I desire is seeking me, then yeah, you're going to get what you believe you deserve because that's what you're focused on, right? And so you don't get what you want. You get what you focus on. You get where you place your attention. That feels like the truest, purest transmission of what wants to come through there. And so I'm really curious for you. This really gave me pause for thought. And I'm feeling like mostly really good about this. But where are you placing your focus primarily right now in this season of your life? And is where you're placing your focus, your attention, your intention, is that actually supporting you in creating what you desire? And if not, that's okay. That's okay. This right now, I'm so glad you're listening. I'm so glad you're here. This is an invitation to shift that, to change that in whatever direction you need to. This right now in this moment gets to be a divine realignment. Right now, at the time of when this episode's going to go live, we're just a few days out from the fall equinox. Right? We're actually quite literally, some of us have already in our minds and in our spirits, we're like, peace out, summer. And some people are holding on to summer for their dear life. But in the Northern Hemisphere right now, there actually is this official shift from summer into fall. That energy is a big transitional energy. And what that is inviting us to tap into is divine realignment. And so this might be the exact conversation that we're needing. Yeah. The other thing that was shared today, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this from my initial NLP training, but I talk about this all the time. I use this tool and I teach about it often, and it is the power of what if. So a lot of times, at first, I just want you to sit with the two words, what if, and notice, how do you normally fill in that blank? What I know to be true, because I've seen this come up so many times within my own thought process, my own heart and body, in one-on-one coaching sessions, but also in groups that I've led for myself and groups that I lead inside of other people's communities and programs that I've coached in. Again, both my own programs and also programs that I've supported others in as a master coach, is a lot of times the what if takes a negative, heavy connotation. Like, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if this is the worst thing? What if I lose this money or these people? Fill in the blank, right? I think a lot of times when what if comes up, we can find ourselves going down a little bit, or maybe not so little, but a little bit of a negative downward spiral feeling rabbit hole. And the first thing I want you to know is that's okay. That's totally okay. There is no shame in that. I'm not judging you. I don't want you to judge you. And there's also value in allowing yourself the opportunity to be honest with yourself, to be honest with your fears, to write down all of those what ifs, like to write down, actually be with, set a 5-minute timer and be with your fear. Don't pretend that it's not there. And also, this is what I love to say, is that if you're going to give fear, the voice of fear, 5 minutes of your time, you also owe the voice of faith 5 minutes or more of your time. If you're going to sit there and you're going to let yourself entertain every not so great what if, then please, for the love of everything, this is just being fair to yourself, please, for the love of everything, also let yourself play with and entertain all of the what ifs on the flip side of the coin. What if this is what I've been waiting for my entire life? What if this is the best thing that's ever happened to me? What if this is exactly what I wanted? And maybe it's not what I wanted, but it's going to help me. It's going to lead to what I wanted. What if this is exactly what I was born to do? What if this is the perfect next step? What would it look like if I let myself trust the unfolding of this? This feels wildly terrifying, but equally expansive. And I know that if I'm leaning towards something on an energetic and a spiritual level, then I know, because I've learned this, I hope that you have too, and if not, maybe you'll learn it right now, that even if something feels scary, it can feel equally expansive. And when I lean into that, that is when the magic happens. That is when I experience literal miracles. That is when I feel like God, universe, spirit, my angels and my guides are moving mountains on my behalf. You with me on this? So the power of what if, and not just letting it be all of these doom and gloom, fear-based what ifs. We're not going to pretend those aren't there, but we're going to spend time with both sides of the coin. And then we're going to filter all of the what ifs through our body, and we're going to hold on to the ones that feel right and true, the ones that feel like they're actually going to lead us to where we're meant to go. This is so perfect because we're talking about the power of your focus. And then we shifted into this magical what if tool. And the what ifs are going to happen anyway. And so how do you use that in your favor? Something else that had come through that I wrote down is, and this is really the concept of radical responsibility, which I love this concept so much. It's like one of my favorites. Also, if you're in a season of life where you're really just like letting the wind take you wherever it wants to take you, and you're not really in the driver's seat of your life, the concept of radical responsibility can be deeply confronting, because if we don't choose to be in the driver's seat of our life, we're in the passenger seat, we're floating around like a leaf in the wind. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but here's the thing. If you're not taking radical responsibility and you don't enjoy the outcomes and results that are being created, there's something for you to look at there, right? And I'm not pointing at you, but I'm thinking about many situations in my life where I did not like where I ended up. And then I got to take a really honest look at, what role did I play here? Oh, I wasn't taking action there, and I didn't speak up there, and I didn't use my voice there, and I wasn't really clear with myself or with my boundaries or with my communication there. Oh, I abandoned myself there. Oh, I let people pleasing and the perfectionist run the show there. Of course, with any of those outcomes, holy cannoli, I just listed off more outcomes than I knew that I would, or different types of roles or programming or patterns that can very quickly lead you to a place that doesn't feel good, right? This is where we really get to look at, be really brutally honest with ourselves and say, what role am I playing in my current results? And is that working for me or not? And whenever I teach radical responsibility or have these conversations, the way that I wrote it down is you are responsible for your focus and your results, right? There are things that are going to happen in life that are absolutely out of your control. I get that. This is not an opportunity to gaslight yourself. I'm not pointing the finger at you and saying that you created this really terrible scenario. Maybe you did, but there's a good chance that you didn't, right? But the question is, who are you going to be in the face of that right now? And the way that I wrote this down in my notes, I so firmly believe in this. You are responsible for your focus. I just say that out loud because I want to look at that just kind of point blank, black and white. No one else is in charge of that, right? Feel that out for you. I'm really feeling this out for me right now. I'm like, yeah, no, my husband is not in charge of my focus. My kids are not in charge of my focus. My clients, my mom, not in charge of my focus, and also my results, right? And so this is one of those concepts. This concept of radical responsibility can be really confronting, but it's equally, if not more, empowering, because it's like, oh yeah, whether you love or despise where you're at right now, this can be that divine sort of shakeup of let me get back into the driver's seat. Let me remember how freaking powerful I am. I always like to say I'm not the creator of my reality. I'm not God, but I am in constant co-creation with what I call God. There's this incredible synergy that gets to happen there where I believe that if a desire is really truly placed on my heart, it's there because it's available for me. And if it's available for me, then I trust that God is going to equip me with everything that I need to see that through, right? If you like that belief, I want you to borrow that. And there's also moments where I'm like, oh yeah, I fell asleep at the proverbial spiritual energetic wheel. Let me wake the S back up and step on the accelerator a bit. Little pedal to the metal, if we will. Yeah? Okay. Let's see. Oh, I love this question. I just want to be with this for a second. One of the most incredible things that you can get curious about, that you can check in with yourself about, literally anything, personal, professional, relational, finances, in your business and your health, especially if things are not working. That was not the intention, but there's like a theme here. And I actually, right now, in my life and my business, I feel like things are working better than they have in a really long time. But I know that that hasn't always been my story. That wasn't my story necessarily 6 months, 12 months. It definitely wasn't my story 18 to 24 months ago. And so if you're in a season where it feels like you're doing, or you're focused and you're like, but Dani, I am in the driver's seat. I am in the driver's seat of my life. And like, I get radical responsibility and I'm showing up and I'm taking the actions and I'm doing the things, but they're just not working. This is where I want to invite you to ask, what is the energy and intention behind what you're doing? Mind blown moment there. Here's what I want you to know. And again, like I've noticed this in myself, and I have to remind myself of this, but I also see this reflected through conversations that I have with my clients. I just had a really great catch-up call with one of my best friends in the whole wide world this morning, and there were like hints and elements of this. And we were having this conversation of like, here's this thing that's not working, but I can also see the role that I'm playing in this. Like, there's no pointing the finger. There's no one or nothing to blame. It's like, here's what I want, and I'm not being the person who makes that happen. And so today, we're going to make a change. We're going to make a new set of choices from a completely different energy that is going to make success inevitable. But I have not been on the path to inevitable success because I know who I need to be, and I haven't been that version of me. Are you with me on that? That felt like a word for somebody. For a couple of us out there, that was a word for me and my best friend earlier this morning. So I love that. But the question is, what is the energy and the intention behind my actions? This is so powerful. This is so powerful. What do I mean by this? Strategy and action taking, crucial, extremely important. But a lot of times, what I see happening is that people are showing up. I'm using air quotations because showing up might look different to you, and it might look different to her, and it might look different to the person next to you, and it might mean something different to your significant other. But like, you're showing up and you're doing, air quotations again, like the right things. The things that really truly could get you the results, whatever the dreamy outcome is in whatever area of your life that you want, and you're not seeing the results. And so most of the time, people say, well, it's not working. It's not working. I'm showing up and I'm doing the thing. I'm having the conversations. I'm selling my program online every single day. I'm taking really good care of my body, whatever it might be. And you actually are doing the things that move the needle forward. But here's the problem. Oftentimes, a lot of times people want to switch the strategy when the strategy is great. The strategy actually works. What needs to shift is the energy and the mindset underneath the strategy. If you're showing up and you're doing literally all of the right things, the things that work for you or have worked for you, or you're like, I keep feeling my highest self, my intuition, God, spirit, universe is telling me to do this thing. It is right. It is divinely guided. It is aligned. I am doing it and it is not working. What is the energy underneath that? And I know this because I've caught this in myself so many times on my journey, both personally, oh my gosh, as I'm talking about this, is like all of these different examples that are flooding in. And I'm going to share some of them with you. If you're taking the action, but underneath the action is a voice that says, this isn't going to work. It's never worked. It didn't work last time. You're just going to keep failing. But you're like doing it, but there's this voice and this energy underneath that's going to work against you. That is going to make it not work. There was a season in my life really early on. I was a new-ish, just a couple of years, like 2 years into being an entrepreneur. And I was really struggling with balancing and figuring out in my mind how I could be a really amazing mom and a really amazing entrepreneur. I really wanted that. I was taking action to do that, but it wasn't actually happening. It all felt really messy, really painful, really hard. And I was making a vision board, to be honest. And it was just me. I've always been a fan of vision boarding parties and vision boarding in groups and having fun in that way. But it was just me in my living room with some magazines. And I remember seeing the words, "You don't have to choose." All right, love, real quick pause because I have to tell you about something that is truly life-changing. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, then there is a 99.9% chance that you have heard me talk about Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program where I teach the exact tools, rituals, mindset shifts that helped me create a life that goes beyond my wildest dreams and has transformed the lives of hundreds of women that I've had the honor of serving. And for the first time ever, it is now available as a self-paced experience. That means you get to move through this powerful transformation on your own terms, in your own timing, and in full alignment with your life. This is for the woman who's ready to shift her energy, elevate her mindset, and finally become the most confident, fulfilled, and successful version of herself. Without the hustle, without the overwhelm, and without the second guessing. If you've been feeling the nudge to join us inside of EEA, then this, my love, is your sign. You'll find the link in the show notes or just DM me EEA on Instagram and I'll personally send it your way. Now, let's get back to the episode that you came for. And I immediately started bawling because in that moment I realized I said I wanted to crack the code of being an amazing, present, attentive mom and also a wildly successful entrepreneur. I wanted those things. I was taking action, but the voice inside of me was saying, you can't actually do that. You have to choose. It's one or the other. Are you with me on this? One more example here is I was in this season of business, now a little bit further along, and a lot of what comes up for me is this dance between business and family roles, because my business and the way that I show up, like my journey as an entrepreneur, and then my journey as a mom and a wife, like those things are really, really, really big parts of my life. And my business had been doing pretty well. It was like doing better than ever, but I felt like I had plateaued for a while, like for an entire year. And I was having a conversation with a friend, and she goes, I think that this has something to do with your husband. Like, you say you want consistent 10K months. I don't remember what it was, but like, we'll use that. You say you want consistent 10K cash months in your business, but I think a part of you is afraid of like how that will change the dynamic in your marriage. And I was like, I don't know. And the more we talked about it, the more I was like, oh my gosh. And you better believe that later that night when my husband came home, we didn't like get in a fight or anything, but I was like, babe, I have this fear. Here's this thing that I'm worried about called, I feel like I'm going to make you insecure, uncomfortable if I make more money than you. Or like I had a kind of a whole list of worries and concerns. And so being able to identify those and then talk to him, and he was like, I'm so glad you identified that. Please don't be worried about any of that. Please go make all of the money that you could ever possibly desire. And I kid you not, the very next month was a massive, massive breakthrough month in my business. The plateau that I'd been at for 14 months, we just like blew right past it. And so again, this conversation is being inspired by what is the energy and intention behind the actions you're taking. There is a chance that if you're plugged into a strategy, you have a path, a plan, or you're taking some sort of an action, of course there is a chance that it's like, oh, maybe you need to change the actions you're taking. Let's switch up the strategy. But most often, you actually you're doing the right things, but there's something underneath that is sabotaging you from being able to experience the results that are possible for you. You with me on this? I just gave you 3 examples. There's probably hundreds of them. Okay. Is this the last thing? I'm like looking at the time. Okay. There's 2 more things that I want to share with you that really don't have anything to do with this official certification and the brushing up on these concepts and the pre-study. But as I was planning out today's podcast episode, I just felt like these were really important. And so while we're on the topic of the most powerful, potent inquiries I think you could ever be in with yourself, which is what is the energy and intention behind this thing I'm doing? Because if it's not aligned with where I want to go, then before I take the action, let me clean up my energy. Let me clarify my intention. That will change your life, fam. I mean, all day, every day, multiple times a day. If I'm getting ready to have a hard conversation, if I'm getting ready to lead a coaching call, if I'm getting ready to go live, if I'm getting ready to create a piece of content, if I'm getting ready to pick up my kids because I haven't seen them all day long, if I don't love the energy and the intention that I'm in, I will switch it up. I will do a reset. I will choose something new. And so I don't ever really go into any conversation just based on pure emotion. It's like, okay, the emotion's here. Here's this thing I'm feeling. What do I want to communicate? What is my deepest desire when it comes to this thing that I'm getting ready to do or getting ready to say? Whew, this will change the game forever. Okay, so we're coming off of that conversation around energetics. There is something that is so freaking powerful, and it's known as energy matching or energy mirroring. And again, this is so perfect riding on the coattails of what we were just talking about, because this is happening. Energy mirroring and energy matching is happening always, like at all times. Most of the time, it is happening completely unconsciously. And so what happens is if, like you're here's your energy field, and you're interacting with your significant other, with your best friend, with a stranger. And what will end up happening is the energy of 2 people, especially if it's unconscious and unintentional, the energetic frequency between 2 people will shift, and so that there is an energetic match. And what I'm going to say next doesn't have to be the truth all of the time, but if you think about it, there are really interesting sayings out there and concepts such as misery loves company, right? And if we think about the energetic scale of consciousness, the heavier, denser emotions are on the bottom. And so it can be so easy. I want you to think about this. It could be so easy. Like you're flying high. You're feeling so good. You're driving home and you know your significant other is there and you just had the best lunch with your girlfriend or your kids have been so well behaved today. And you're so excited to share this with your person. And you walk in the door and you instantly feel like, oh, they are in a mood. They must have had a heck of a time at work. And if you're not mindful, you can shrink your energy down. This will happen without you even realizing. Again, because it's unconscious, your energy can dwindle down to match theirs, right? And that flying high feeling, poof, gone. When you're mindful of this, there's a level of like needing to read the room, right? If the person you love is in a mood and they're having a bad day and you're flying high, I don't know that it is necessarily the best choice to come in dancing and spinning and singing in their face at the top of your lungs. But there is a way where you can maintain your energetic frequency while they hold theirs. You do not need to bring yours all the way down. And if you are having a conversation with somebody who is intuitive and can energetically attune, you can say, hey, I'm noticing that you're in a really low vibration right now. And I get it. I get it. Oh my gosh, I would be too if I had experienced whatever you experienced. Like, we're not making it bad or wrong, but you can say something along the lines of like, I'm feeling really good right now. And I'm curious, do you want me to share some of this energy with you? I want to support you in lifting some of this heaviness if that's something you want. So there's two different things I'm sharing with you here. In general, this concept, this distinction is known as energy mirroring or energy matching. Same thing, two different ways of saying it. One is you get to do this on an intentional, conscious level, and you don't have to say anything about it. You can choose to hold your highest, most authentic expression while engaging with someone or multiple people who, for whatever reason, are operating at a lower vibration. Think about this, holidays are right around the corner. If your holiday family situations are typically lower vibration, you don't have to lower yours. You can keep yours up, and you can do that without words. The other thing you can do is, if you're in relationship, in friendship, in a dynamic where the person would understand this, you could actually have a conversation. You can say, I really want to hold the highest, most loving vibration right now. And if it feels good for you, I want to invite you to join me for this interaction we're getting ready to have. I want to be a stand for the vibration of unconditional love, of hope, of faith, of joy. Would that be helpful for you right now? Right? So you can have that conversation with them. But this concept of energy matching is always happening. Most of the time, it's completely unconscious. So when you're consciously aware of this and you can do something about that, this will change your life. Okay. The last thing I want to share with you, this is something that I used today. I'm going to bring you in behind the scenes of something that you might not know about me. I don't love this, but it's true. It's my truth. How many of you are fellow snoozers in the morning? For as long as I can remember, for as long as I've had access to an alarm clock, I have been a snoozer. What does that mean? I will set, typically it's 4 different alarms ranging from 5:30 in the morning, which is when I actually genuinely would like to wake up, So it's 5:30, 5:50, 6:15, and 6:30. Okay. I'm like really letting you in. So 5:30 is when I genuinely want to wake up to have a really nice, slow, spacious morning to pour into myself, to do all of the things I want to do. 6:30 is like, girl, get your butt out of bed and you're going to have to run. Like you are going to be running this morning. There is no slowing down. You don't get to do anything for yourself. If I'm being completely honest, 95% of the time, I wake up in between. I wake up at like 6, between 6 and 6:10. So I have enough time to do a little bit of my morning routine. I'll do my devotional, do a little prayer, do like a little 5-minute audio, and then I got to get on with the rest of my day. And so I'll hit snooze a couple of times. And I'm in this season where I'm like, I really want to wake up at 5:30. And I don't really want to wake up at 5:30, but I really desire to have a particular kind of morning routine. And the invitation there is to wake up at 5:30. And so this morning, there was something unconscious going on. There was some energy and intention underneath my actions that was causing me to snooze, that was not feeling good day after day, week after week, honestly, month after month, like this whole year. And most of this year, I haven't been super committed to a really dialed in morning routine. But now that the kids are back in school and I'm really taking inventory and being really mindful about the way that I move through the day and how I want to take care of myself, my body, my energy, it feels more important than it has in a really long time. It's always important, trust me, but it matters more to me right now. And so this morning when my alarm went off at 5:30, I laid there in bed and I started intuitively affirming myself. And I said things like, I'm important. I'm really, really important. And my needs are important. And my needs matter. And I deserve to feel good. I deserve to be taken care of. I deserve to take care of myself. I deserve to know what it feels like when I take really good care of myself. And I'm really important. And I'm worth that. And my needs matter. And that's important. And I'm important. And waking up right now, not hitting snooze, that's really, really important. And so I got out of bed at 5:33. I didn't hit snooze. And I think that there was something in that sort of sleepy state where I realized this feels like a little bit of like a lump in the throat vulnerability moment. I did not have a conscious awareness of this, but with the affirmations that just started intuitively coming through, I think that there was some sort of narrative underneath, an energy that sounded something like, it's okay, it's not that big of a deal. You don't really need your morning routine. It's okay to just rush a little bit. And I could see how that voice thought that it was serving a purpose, but that voice has expired. Whatever purpose that was serving, I don't actually want that anymore. And so I think that there was a lack of feeling like my needs mattered and a lack of feeling like what I really, really, really want, what I'm committing to, well, it's not that big of a deal. That's what was going on. And so this morning, the voice of the God that lives inside of me was like, sister, I'm going to share some things that are going to help you get your butt out of bed and not hit snooze. And it was so easy. I mean, it was literally probably 3 minutes of affirming that really quietly to myself again and again and again. And I so felt the energy and the essence of God there. Like there was a presence that was so big and so good and so light and so loving. And I was like, that's all it took. I just had to remember that I'm important and I matter and my needs matter and I deserve to be taken care of. And whose job is it to take care of me? It's my job to take care of me. And what does taking care of me look like today? It looks like getting up right now, and I deserve to feel what that feels like to get up right now. And I want to feel that. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. Total game changer. Total game changer. So that was just like a little bonus one that I wanted to share with you. If you are a lifelong snoozer, if you are having a hard time waking up at the time that you actually want to wake up at, then use that. But also, maybe you're not a snoozer. Maybe there's something else that you're really wanting, and every day you say you're going to do it and you don't actually do it, maybe there's something similar. Like you might be navigating something that I was navigating that says like, yeah, I know that you want that, but it's not a big deal. And you're like, no, right now, while you're listening to this moment is your line in the sand moment. I actually do want that. And that thing matters to me. And I deserve to feel what that feels like. I am committed to being the version of me who makes that happen. And I'm not going to let that slip anymore. And I'm not going to not keep promises to myself anymore. I'm excited to have that experience. I'm excited to meet that version of myself. That's my invitation to you. So if you are wondering what I'm going to be doing every morning at 5:30 for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be saying these really nice things to myself. And hopefully you can use bits and pieces of these affirmations and all of these tools that I shared with you today. As always, I am so excited I want to hear from you when it comes to what stood out to you. What was your favorite aha, your takeaway, an insight? What are you going to use as a result of listening to this episode today? Please let me know if you found this helpful. It would mean the world if you would share it, tag me, send it to your people. If you haven't yet reviewed the Energy Expansion podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, that would also mean the world to me. Let me know. I love you, and I'll see you next week, my loves.